Treasury praises growth of non-oil economy in Iraq. A specialist details the negatives and positives of removing zeros from the Iraqi currency. Quote, Al-Mawsumi said, "The process of removing zeros from the currency means replacing a new currency with the old currency with the aim of simplifying the accounting process between consumers, and it is often resorted to by countries that suffer from high inflation and have become unable to deal with paper currencies of very weak value. Deleting zeros is an imaginary change in the value of the currency and does not change its purchasing power." U.S. support for Iraq's reform steps. Non-oil GDP indicators rise and exceed twice the population growth rate. They are clearly hammering the concept of Iraq's ability to reform her banking and financial sectors among the many other sectors, namely the non-oil sectors. They have had a significant focus on the 6% growth rate in revenues. There is also a focus on the international financial connectivity. Thus, with the focus they have on these topics, we can see that they mean business. Iraq can only change the rate at 1 or 2 points in the year, beginning or the middle of the year. That was stated by Shabibi. If Iraq was going to revalue at any of those times, you would see them increase their steps and actions preparing to revalue. In this month of September those steps has occurred. They have increased their actions, getting critical steps, laws done. They have tremendously ramped up. Successful meeting today with the United States Treasury with Sudani. It looks like the sanctions will be all off. Frank, they're reporting to the Iraqi citizens what they're accomplishing at the United Nations with the US Treasury, but this stuff is old. It's ancient history. What you are seeing is nothing more but formalities. I am excited to see Sudani return back and talk to you Iraqi citizens. VND, IO, will IT be higher than 47 cents? Most rumors put the rate somewhere around $2.25 to $3 or so. But we don't know that answer for certain. The Central Bank of Iraq is required by the Federal Reserve to stop the platform, liquidate banks and merge others. Al-Sudani concludes his visit to New York by meeting Guterres, who praised the discussions to end UNAMI's work in Iraq. The goal of the census is developmental, economic, and Kirkuk second in completing the numbering and inventory process, so they are doing a full census in November to figure out which money goes where. I do believe this occurs right after the HCL is wrapped up and the government can then distribute the new funds. I was told to look for a census, and now we are finally getting it. You can see the excitement of what's going on is no longer a secret, and it's being advertised and published and talked about and bragged about all over the world, from New York, the United States Treasury, all the way back to Iraq. The whole Middle East is on pins and needles. They all know? They're excited and they know it's going to affect them as well too. We see articles on the news, reporters saying the imminent change to our currency is coming. Then he talked about deleting the zeros and the good that this would do and the bad. Then said our dinar would be stronger than the Jordan dinar. A joint statement issued by the Gulf Cooperation Council and the United States on Thursday called on Iraq to fully demarcate the maritime borders between the two countries after point 162, and called on the Iraqi government to ensure that the 2012 agreement regulating navigation in Khor Abdullah remains in effect. This came after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met in New York with Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani, Qatari Minister of Foreign Affairs and current chairman of the GCC Ministerial Council, in addition to the foreign ministers of the GCC member states and the Secretary-General of the Council, Jassim Mohammed al-Badawi. According to the statement, the ministers referred to the decisions of their meeting on September 18, 2023, and stressed the importance of Iraq's commitment to Kuwait's sovereignty and territorial integrity and respect for international agreements and United Nations resolutions, especially Security Council Resolution No. 833 regarding the demarcation of the borders between Kuwait and Iraq. They called for the full demarcation of the maritime borders between Kuwait and Iraq beyond border point 162, and called on the Iraqi government to ensure that the agreement between Kuwait and Iraq, concluded in 2012 to regulate maritime navigation in Khor Abdullah, remains in effect. The ministers expressed their support for Security Council Resolution 2732, 2024, which mandated the Secretary-General of the United Nations to facilitate progress towards resolving all outstanding issues between Iraq and Kuwait, including the return of all Kuwaiti and third country nationals or their remains and the return of Kuwaiti property and the national archives. The ministers noted the important role that the United Nations is currently and in the future playing in implementing Security Council Resolution 1284 and ensuring continued progress towards resolving these issues, and called on Iraq to make every effort to reach a solution to all the issues concerned.